Hello everyone, my name is Jack Edwards and welcome back to the StudyTube Project YouTube channel. Now, I have just finished my English literature degree, and so one of the most common questions people ask me is, what should I read? What are the books that I should prioritize, put to the top of my reading list that are going to broaden my mind? And so today I have compiled a list of 50, which I have separated up into sections. So I'm going to talk a little bit about classics, books that have had huge cultural impacts. And so we've got a bit of the canon in there, but also books that will broaden your mind in terms of different perspectives, or post-colonial perspectives, or decolonized literature that maybe doesn't make it onto academic reading lists as much. So there's 50 recommendations here, so this should keep you pretty busy. Hopefully at least one of these sounds appealing to you. So without further ado, these are the 50 fictional books that I would recommend to help you broaden your mind. Firstly, Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. Now, Defoe is often considered to be the grandfather of the novel. This is one of the first ever novels, and it is about a guy on a desert island. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. Woolf has so many fantastic books, but they're all quite kind of philosophical, so as a way into Virginia Woolf's writing, I would really recommend Mrs. Dalloway, which is about a woman hosting a party, but there's also themes of kind of post-war trauma and that kind of thing. The Odyssey by Homer. If you're interested in mythology, then you will love this book. The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, one of those books that has been banned so many times, it's definitely worth reading and finding out why. And then Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. This is about how women and the cult of virginity were seen by the Victorians. The next 10 recommendations are books that have had a huge cultural impact. So basically these are books that are spoken about a lot in common discourse. They've had an impact on the way that we live today, or, you know, company names or that kind of thing. Firstly, we have Moby Dick by Herman Melville. Now, you may not know, but Starbucks, the coffee chain, is named after a character in Moby Dick. Lolita by Nabokov. The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Lord of the Flies by William Golding. Hamlet by Shakespeare. This is what The Lion King is based on. Romeo and Juliet by Shakespeare. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. The Study in Scarlet by Arthur Conan Doyle. This is the book series that Sherlock Holmes comes from. And Dracula by Bram Stoker. I think one of the most portrayed characters in TV and film history is Dracula. The next 10 recommendations are political commentary. Firstly, of course, we had to have 1984 by George Orwell, followed by Animal Farm by George Orwell. Both of these are huge critiques of politics and political systems. Animal Farm is a fable, allegorical tale about the Russian Revolution. The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, all about book burnings. Brave New World by Huxley. You may have heard a lot of people referring to now as a kind of Brave New World. Home Fire by Kamala Shamsi. North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. This is sort of about the divide between the industrial north and the farming south and agricultural south in England. The Grapes of Wrath by Steinbeck. We by Zamyatin, the first dystopia, and Harvest by Jim Crace, which is all about sort of separationist politics. You can definitely read it in the context of the Brexit vote and Eurocentrism and Euroscepticism, and also a really interesting read. The next books that I'm going to speak about are post-colonial texts. Firstly, we have The Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. Now, this sort of is about how Africa was seen as this darkness, whereas Europe was seen as the light because it was enlightened, and African native people were seen as sort of savages by colonialists. Wide Sargasso Sea by Jean Rhys. The Hungry Tide by Amitav Ghosh. The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy. Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie, which is about the end of British colonialism in India and the partition of India. A Thousand Splendid Suns and The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. The Inheritance of Loss by Kiran Desai, which is about Nepal. Disgrace by J.M. Coetzee is about South Africa post-apartheid. And Small Island by Andrea Levy. And the final 10 recommendations are books that give you a different perspective on the world. Firstly, Americana by Chimamanda Adichie. This is a book about moving from Nigeria to the US and the experience of being black in that space, and it's incredible. A Single Man by Christopher Isherwood. This is about being a gay man pre-Stonewall in America. Beloved by Toni Morrison. The Reader by Bernhard Schlink, which is basically a book about growing up in Germany in the generation after the Holocaust. So it's kind of about that post-war shame. The Color Purple by Alice Walker. Wonder by Palacio. Hiroshima by John Hersey. The White Tiger by Aravind Adiga. This is about being an entrepreneur in the new India. Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, which is about tribes in Africa. And The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, which is about hysteria and how women were seen as being hysterical by their husbands and locked away, and how madness is used to discredit them. Okay, my camera died literally the second I finished reading the list, so my battery is very in sync with what's going on here. So I'll wrap this up here. I hope this gives you some inspiration as to what you can add to your reading list, and yeah, I hope you have a lovely day. I hope you have a lovely time enjoying those books, and I will see you next time. Bye bye, new videos every day at 6 p.m.